What's up, YouTube? Today I'm back with the Revo PZ Probe. I just did an unboxing on this, and today we're going to install this guy in this machine back here. It actually has a Rapido in that one, so it's not quite a drop-in replacement. We actually got to change the mounts and do this, a little bit of wiring on it and stuff. But we're going to go over the features of this thing and install it and get it working and show you guys how it does. So let's get into it. So we're going to start off going to the website here. If you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see a link here, and there's also one down here. But if you just open this up, we're going to need to download this part here. Click download, download all files. It's going to download as a zip file. Unzip it, open up your slicer program. We're using Super Slicer here. Open the file once you've unzipped it. And we're going to need to print these. This is a new carriage, and it's going to have a mount for our little circuit board that comes with the probe here. So let's get this printed first. So now I've got the carriage over there printing. While that's doing that, I had this already. Since I print these parts, these are just some extra ones. This was for a Revo Voron. So I'm going to set this up to use this and mount this in here. It's got your two holes here and here, which is 4, and it just goes in there just like that, and it screws in the top on both sides. And also it's going to need heat inserts here and here, and I'm not going to put these in because I'm not going to use the ADXL mount to right there. So for here, I'm just going to put those two in. So these are M3x10 stainless steel. I'm going to put it in here on this one side, and I'm going to drop them both down in there. And I'm going to start them like that. Before we go too far, we're going to want to put our heater tube on here, so it just kind of clips on right there. It's going to run up through here. And then we can take this, and it's going to run to the inside of there, and it's going to just go like that. That way the wires stay hidden in there, and you got your hot end on there and everything. Everything's good. So now we're going to drop these two down and tighten them up a little bit. I'll use the screws that came off the other stealth burner for these two, and then everything else, I'll just reuse those. There's no reason to get more. So everything's mounted there. I'll go ahead and put a nozzle in there real quick. All right, that all looks good. Everything's tightened up. We got a nozzle on there. I would tighten this up when it gets hot, just a little bit more, just to make sure it's good. So this is the machine I'm putting the PZ Probe in right now. It has Voron tap printed, and I'm choosing this one because this here. Actually, this is a temporary wire that I had ran because this wire had went bad somewhere, so it's just running out the top. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it through during this process. So start out, let's go ahead and take this off. Let's take this main body off. We loosen the two screws here. And the bottom ones. Now we can pull this off. This one's got the board in there, so everything is right here. Just unplugs, which is very handy. You can see it's a little dusty. This is the part that we're removing. So in the side here, it's got the screw. We got to pop the hood. So let's pop the hood, loosen that out. Okay. Now we can see all of our wires and our connections and things like that in here. This has an extra sturdy mount to hold this in, so there's a screw right here on the top that holds it down. Just got to loosen that out. And that comes off. Now I'm able to unplug this, and I'm going to actually route it through the Z-chain here instead of having the old one just kind of set up through there. But I'll do that off camera. That's not what we're here for. What we're here for is this. So I'm going to loosen the screws here. And this will drop this down. Okay, we're replacing it with this here. I will have to extend these connections because it's going to have to reach back here in the back. What I typically do is cut this off. I'll solder some wires onto this. Same thing with this, and we can plug it in up here. But for now, let's get everything unplugged and removed. And there we have it. That's the Rapido removed. So now we have to remove everything else because we're taking the Voron tap off of here. So we got these two screws that hold Clockwork 2 on. Like that. We can just set that aside. Go ahead and unplug the tap from there. I'm just going to kind of set it right there and hope it don't fall. We're going to loosen these screws here out. There's a printed part that you can slide this off if you got tap. I'm just going to be daring and slide it off and hope no bearings fall out. And they didn't. I'm going to go ahead and unplug this here because I'm going to be removing that off anyways. So now I can set it aside. So now we'll just loosen these 4 screws here out that hold it on. Other thing you want to do is take your belts and loosen them all the way back. Take all the tension off of them, basically, is what we're doing. Okay, those are all loose. Now we got a little bit more slack there. So I'm going to take the belts off from here. Okay, there we have it. In my case, now that I've removed everything, it's a good time to go ahead and grease this. It feels really good. The motion feels really good on this thing, but it could use a little grease. So now that I got it tore apart, I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, now we got our parts. Cool them off a little bit, pop them off. Okay, so now that I have everything prepped and ready to go into the machine, everything is done here except I need to extend these wires a little bit. I'll use this as a device basically to see how long I need to go with it. I'll do that in a moment. So I won't go into a lot of detail on this, mainly because there's some really good documentation on the website. It's got LED indicators, your button press to select configurable presets. It supports both UART and I2C. The voltage range is 3.3 to 5 volts. Everything is in here. They've done really well in the documentation. All the instructions are really well done. You can read through this. Also, there's a setup guide there if you need help with that. And there's a troubleshooting section if you need help with Klipper or Marlin. It's all in there. So just read through that really well before you go about doing this. So now that we have everything figured out, I know how it's going to go in. We're going to go ahead and get this installed. So what I'm going to have to do here is I got to put a couple heat inserts in this new bracket. This is actually, looks like a standard, MGN12 bracket mount that would be used on a Voron. It's just got a little mount here on the top so it can mount these 2 holes onto here. So let's go ahead and get all this mounted on and just put it on here and we can start doing the configuration. So I need to put the heat inserts in, one here, and one here, and one here. Let's do that real quick. So this is ready to go now. I just need 2 M3 by 35 is what it looks like the right size is, and a couple nuts. So this mounts on, but instead of bolting it on together now and then mounting it on, I'm going to do it one at a time. That way it's a lot easier to do the belts. So before I mount this on, I'm going to take this switch off. This is for the X end stop. I'm going to move it over to this carriage. So that'll go like this. This one will go right there. So I'll put the screws in here and then just go ahead and slide this on a little bit and basically just get it started. Then we can slide the belts right through the back there. You can see they'll come out the other side. Keep it the same on both sides. So bring it to about right there. Just put it on there and tighten it up. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this. Now we have a little bit of slack over here. You want to make sure that your belts are all on the right paths before you finish doing this. You don't want them to be hanging off a bearing somewhere. Once we got everything lined up and we know that the belts are all on the bearings. They're not hanging off a bearing somewhere. Just put it on the grooves right there, and then we'll just get it close to it and press it in there just like that. So what you want to do is bring this all the way forward so it touches the idler on both sides. Kind of keep pulling forward on it. Pull any slack out of it. Don't want too much slack out of it. If you pull one too tight, then it's going to rack your machine here. So just pull it a little bit, then just press back on it there. Keep it locked into place, and we'll tighten this up a little bit so it won't move anywhere. I'm going to put your nut on this side, then we can put our screws through here and clamp that back together. And then tighten all these up good. You can fold these back like that to hide your slack. Now what we want to do is tension our belts. If you haven't got one of these, get you one. Check them out at E3D. Also, I've done a video on how to do this, so I'm not going to show this process, so I'll link the video. You can check that out. So right here I've cut the heater wire and the thermistor wires down a little bit, and I need to extend them to reach. So I'm going to do that real quick now. Okay, now I've got my wires extended here, the clips on them, everything's ready for that. What I'm going to do is go ahead and run this wire up through here, behind those belts, just like that. And I'm just going to tighten this up a little bit, just enough to grab a hold of it where it don't fall down. So that gives me slack. I can pull it up or down. We can take this right here and plug it in. You want to flip this back like that, and then we're going to plug it in right there. So the way this plugs in is with this black piece here facing up. Just like this. And then lock it down. We've got 2 screws here that it came with. Put that wire in that groove right there. Just kind of let it sit in there. Line up your holes. So this will come with this long connection right here, and this plugs in right here like this. And we don't need all these connections, nor do we need this long. And I actually don't have the set of this JST SH connector type. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to depin the ones I don't need and use these 3 right here. And then I will cut it back and put the connection that I need on the other side to plug into my board. If you look in the description, I've got an Amazon link to these because I didn't realize I didn't have them, so I placed the order for these myself as well. So the 3 that we're going to need is going to be these 3 here. The brown is going to be the ground, and the red voltage, and the next one over here, orange, kind of is your signal. So you can just take a razor to slice down this. I would recommend just getting the set. I'm just doing this for the video, but we're going to just open it up like that. So I'm going to depin all the other ones here. I'm going to split them off one by one because that's going to be the easiest way to do this. I'm not going to be able to get them all at once. Again, I would recommend to just buy the kit instead of doing this. But this is what I have, so this is what I'm working with. So what you'll do is just pry up on that just a little bit right there. And when you do that, you can pull out the connection. So now I got this depinned. I'm going to cut this back. I'll give myself plenty of slack here to go up and connect to the board where I need to connect to. Once I get the measurement right, I will strip these out a little bit and put my connector on this side. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and plug this in so I can dry fit everything and see how long the wire needs to be. So this is an SB2209, and I'm going to use the same connections I had for on the Voron tap here with signal, ground, and voltage. It just plugs in right there at that port. So I'm going to set this down in here. I'm not going to mount anything yet. I'm just getting a sort of a measurement of how long I want this to be. I want a little bit of slack, so I'm going to cut it about right there. Just put a little bend in it. Now here's my harness that I've made. I still got to put the end on it. What I ended up doing was cutting it just a little bit shorter because what I ended up using is this. These pre-made ones, you can get this on Amazon as well. I'll put the link in the description. You can use this and just cut your wires and solder them on here with some heat shrink. Put your connection on and you're good to go. other than trying to crimp these. They're so small, they're very hard to crimp. I do have a set of crimps for these. This is just easier for me. So this is what I went with. And the way this gets crimped on is going to be voltage ground signal from left to right. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in. All right, so I got everything mounted back in the machine, and now we're ready to almost fire it up and do some testing. Before we do that, we got to make a couple configuration changes. So I'm going to show you how I did mine. Yours may be a little bit different depending on what you did with yours, basically. This one, it had a different hot end in there, so we changed it from a Rapido to a Revo Voron. We have to do some pin changes and things like that. You will always need to change the probe section because there is one that I'll show you in just a moment. So let's get into that. If you like the video though, make sure you hit the like button real quick for us, subscribe. We do live streams every Saturday as well. If you want to jump on and say hi to us, if you have any questions or anything, you can join our Discord. We'll be happy to help you out with any of that in there. So let's get into configuration and get this thing actually probing. So I got logged in here and it looks like it's reading okay. It's actually showing the same temperature as the heater bed, so that's right. And as I heat this up, if I change this, you can see it actually starts to move up. So that's good. What we're going to do is we're going to go into our configuration. You want to find your printer config. And in here, you want to look for your probe section. So you're going to scroll down until you find your probe. Right here it is. And in mine, I had Voron tap in there. So this is what goes in for Voron tap. So basically what we want to go over here to E3D Online. And I'm going to put the link in the description for this. So you're going to click on this Klipper config right here. This is what you want. You're going to copy this and you're going to put it in your probe section and replace what you have in there, everything except for the pin. The pin is what you want to specify for what you have your probe plugged into. So that's going to be different for everyone depending on your configuration. So go back over here and I'm going to put all that information right here. You can see here it actually takes the current down to 40% on all your Z-steppers when it's doing the probing. So there's a reason for that. It says here a good starting point is 40%. That's why they have it set as that. So you can do a little bit of changes and tweaking with that if you'd like. I'm just going to go with the 40% and see how it does. So we have this set over here. Everything's good there. So I want to hit save and restart. Once we're all booted back up, what I want to do is try to do a home and see if it actually homes. So before I do that, I want to do a check here. So we're going to query the Endstops. And that's good. They're all open. So if you want to really verify, you can go over and press in your X Endstop and run query Endstops again to see if it triggers. It should say triggered if it's pressed in, and you can do the same thing with Y and Z. So that can verify before you go trying to home your machine and crash it into something. You might want to check that. I'm okay on mine as I've already checked this. So let's go ahead and try to home it and see what happens. All right, so I've done all the configuration changes I think that need to be done. So we're going to hit home all here. And I'm going to have my finger on this emergency stop button when it gets ready to do the Z, just to make sure if it crashes, you're ready to stop that. So here we go. As in that probe section, you see it's going to change to 0.4 in a moment when it gets ready to home the Z. Right now, it's changed. And there it goes. It homed just fine. And we'll do a quick bed mesh calibrate test on it just to see how that does. All right, so after that very long process of bed meshing that I'm going to have to go through and do some adjusting on speeds on, we can see here it did a good job at that. It shows our variance here at 0.09, so that's not bad for this bed. So other than that, it turned out good. I also may go through the preset settings and do some changes and tweak them a little bit and just to see how it reacts to different things. So if enough people request it, I may go through and do a little bit more deeper dive in the settings and different options you have with this probe. There is a lot more to it than this. Just wanted to do an install video of get it working and check it out here a little bit. There is actually some more information here on how much pressure it takes to activate the probe and things like that. But you can read through this. They did really good on it, so make sure you check this documentation out and read through it really well. Thanks for watching the video, guys. That's going to be it right there. We got it installed. I'm going to do some testing on it. I'm going to see how fast I can get this thing running. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments for me. Thank you, E3D, for getting my hands on this a little bit early. And thank you all for watching. I will see you guys on the next video. Have a great week.